Hello everyone, this is High Priestess Tana and thank you for tuning into another video. Once again, I appreciate all your support as usual, and I wanted to get started by saying that I want to review an independent movie called Killjoy. Now, I always talk about this around here about how the effects of black magic affect people, and when you do love spells that go wrong, and how it can backfire on you and cause a lot of havoc and chaos and destruction in your life if you engage in these activities, and especially when you do things without the consent of someone else. And it's crazy because you want to know something funny, y'all? I realized something really interesting while trying to get prepared to review this movie. This movie was made in 2000, by the way, if I hadn't said that before. And basically, it has a main character named Michael. So, Michael is one of the main characters who ends up getting possessed by Killjoy by him doing his black magic ritual, right? So, also the guy who was playing Killjoy was also in the Jacksons in American Dream, and he played Tito Jackson. So y'all see the parallel between the two? That's crazy. His name is Angel Vargas or Angel Vargas, and he played Tito Jackson in the Jacksons in American Dream. And it's interesting because the main character name is Michael, and I thought that was funny to like point that out. Like, oh wow, like I just did a review on the Jacksons in American Dream. So one of the main characters' name is Michael. The girl who he's infatuated or obsessed with name is Jada. So, um, I want to start off by saying that this movie was very interesting because it touched base on themes such as revenge, love versus obsession, uh, black magic, love spells, dabbling into some things that could be a little bit too powerful, and basically just do things that make sense and understand that if it's something meant for you, it would happen naturally and you wouldn't have to force it, especially when it comes to love and relationships. Now, Jada already had a boyfriend and his name was Lorenzo, okay? And his friends were T Bone and Baby Boy. And they constantly bullied Michael, right? And it's interesting because Michael was a shy guy. He may have been viewed as kind of nerdy, a little off to himself, and from what it looked like, he didn't have a lot of friends, and he was so in love with this girl named Jada. And they were in high school, by the way, so they're high schoolers. He was so infatuated with this young woman, and he felt like he didn't have any other way to go because when it came to trying to pursue Jada, because Jada constantly would reject him pretty much in front of her friend. I forgot what her friend name was. I actually want to go back and look really quickly. And I want to I'm going to give a shout out to the actors and actresses who were the main characters. Like I said before, Angel Vargas or Angel Vargas, he played the character Killjoy. And the movie was also directed by Craig Ross Jr. And the writer, his name is Carl Washington. So Vera Yale, she played Jada. Lee Marks played Jamal. Kareem J. Grimes, he played Michael, okay, who ended up getting possessed by Killjoy. Ronnie Goulant, I want to say that's his name, played Baby Boy. Arthur, was it? what's his name? Burgart or Borgart. He played the homeless man, and this homeless man is going to play a key role in this movie as well. I think he was some type of supernatural being because he was working like in the in between when it came to trying to save Jada and her friends from the raft of Killjoy. Um, Also, we have William L. Johnson as Lorenzo. Corey Hampton is T Bone. Dee Dee Austin is Monique. And Ray is played by Carl Washington. Dion Rochelle plays Tamara or Tamara. I forgot how, I think it's probably pronounced Tamara. It's been a while since I watched this movie, so and Penny Ford is the singer. So those are the top people, the top cast of the movie. Oh, I'm sorry. Napiria Groves is Kahara. That's a unique name. Napiria. I think it's pronounced Napira Groves. Wow. Okay, that's like, oh my god. And the guy who was in here who played Lorenzo, he was in another hood classic that I really enjoyed called Blue Hill Avenue. So, let me go back to something really quick. It was something. Oh, and this is the other theme too of the movie. It deals with the demonic clown trope, if you will. And it's funny because Killjoy kind of remind me of the melanated version of Pennywise or something, like the hood version of Pennywise. I know it sounds funny, but that shit is hilarious. But y'all, I can't. Girl, this shit had me cracking up. It was crazy. It was sad because of what happened to Michael in the movie, to one of the main characters. But just overall, crazy work. I was like, what in the hell? Like, this clown, y'all, is fucking hilarious. Like, it's sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, in the movie I was like, are they doing a voice dub or something? Because I swore old boy did. Somebody pointed this out to another content creator, and I believe that was Gully Boy. He mentioned that because I like his channel too. He's funny, but he has some great reviews too. He's hilarious. He said that the guy who played Killjoy sound like Kel Mitchell. It was one of the scenes he was saying something like motherfucker, he sound like Kel Mitchell, y'all. And that shit was funny, Kel Mitchell from back in the day, Keenan and Kel, all that, the Keenan and Kel show, Good Burger, all that stuff. Oh my god, that was funny too, Good Burger. It was so hilarious, but y'all, it's funny because, and like, and I'm just putting this together, like William Johnson or William L. Johnson, that was a Killjoy who played Lorenzo. He played E-Bone and Blue Hill Avenue. But if I recall correctly, yes, I was right. The same director who well, he was director and writer this time around, but the same guy who directed Killjoy ended up directing Blue Hill Avenue as well. And plus he reused, excuse me, William L. Johnson um as another character. But it's funny because he still played that type of, kind of crime lord, type of vibe he had to him, because they weren't to be fucked with in Blue Hill Avenue either. But Killjoy it was dark, like the energy was dark because of course it's like a horror movie, but it was also like comedy too. Like it was crazy, Y'all, it was some funny ass scenes. I just want to tap into this shit because it was some scenes like at the end of the movie, and I'm giving spoilers, y'all. I don't give a fuck. I'm giving straight up spoilers because this movie is old. Like this movie is like 26 years old. Like my dude, like it's, you know what I'm saying. If you haven't seen it, go to Tubi and pull up the movie Killjoy. They got multiple versions of this movie too. Like it's other, whoa, like a part two, three, and but they're named differently. Um, yeah, they got a lot of different versions of this, like different sequels and all types of shit. So you might like it, but it's a good kiki, good laugh. But it's also sad too because what happened to Michael. You know, in this movie, the young man went at the end of the movie, like towards the end, Jada was with her new boyfriend, right? And he was going down on her, like he was having sex. I think he went down on her, and then when the covers got pulled back or something, it was Killjoy, and he was like, "Ooh, that was some good pussy." I was like, "That shit was funny as hell." I was like, y'all ignorant, y'all some fools for that one. Y'all some straight fucking clowns for that one. No pun intended, because I mean Killjoy was a clown, so I wouldn't expect anything more or less. Like that shit was hilarious. Like I said, hilarious. It is giving the hood version of Pennywise, okay? Mixed with some Nightmare on Elm Street type of shit too. Like it's crazy. But y'all, I done ran my damn mouth. But I wanna start off by let's see, kind of giving my own brief overview from a spiritual standpoint about the movie, and I'm also going to incorporate my, my stance throughout the video as well. But it was hilarious. But it was, you know what I'm saying, it was some parts that made you go, oh man, poor guy, when it came to just thinking about the background story and how, pretty much people can be so desperate for love that they don't realize that, oh my god, like you could literally be selling your soul. And that's what poor Michael did. He basically sold his soul for love, to try to get love from Jada, right? And this is a low budget film, but I actually appreciate low budget films, because sometimes those low budget films can open the doors for other people to get put on, and they end up blowing up in the industry, or doing well for themselves going forward. So I like to see that they put a lot of effort. I'm not going to lie, when it came to, excuse me, when it came to like the actual makeup of the clown and stuff, they made him look scary, like super scary. But it was also like with a Party City type of vibe too. But it was like comical but spooky as fuck too. So I appreciate like the effort and everything that that he put in. Uh, like the actual guy, the person who played Killjoy, Angel Vargas. I think he did an excellent job. And by seeing him go from playing Tito Jackson 8 years prior in the Jacksons and American Dream, and to see him play a menace, and this was like insane, right? Like it was crazy work. But y'all, let's tap into this damn movie, okay? So, what else? What was I about to go to? All right. I want to start off. Yeah. So, let's see. With the movie or whatever, and what I thought about it from a spiritual standpoint. Now, Um, what I was getting about this whole thing is that although it was a supernatural horror hood movie, which is a lot to take in by me just saying that, it shows that this young man Michael end up taking revenge in his own hands. Well, took revenge and took justice in his own hands by trying to um by using black magic in the force of the demonic clown Killjoy. So in the end, Michael never received the peace that he wanted by doing this. He actually became binded to Killjoy, and he was so consumed by the injustice that he actually ended up suffering more than anything because he wanted revenge so badly. It's like his soul became binded with Killjoy, okay? And I guess he thought that he was going to get peace by doing this, by unleashing this demonic clown type of energy. And I got something to say about that too, about that demonic clown imagery and energy. I brought this up before. But he, it's like he wanted to feel loved by Jada. And to me, it was so bad. Like, he had an itch for like being in love with someone who didn't love him at all. She already had a man, and I think that he just went too far trying to keep pursuing her, knowing who she was affiliated with. Lorenzo and his boys were dangerous already, and I personally wouldn't even want to pursue her at all if I were him. But here's the thing: when you use spiritual influences to get revenge, people don't understand that you have to pay in blood yourself, because you're using that force to destroy someone else. What do you think you have to give up in the end too? You're not about to just get something for nothing. And I think he didn't think that through. Michael didn't think that through, because you, like, this the thing, when you summon a force, you want them to help you, you have to invite them in. That's just like with sinners, with the vampiric energy that was taking over the juke joint that night. Vampires can't come in unless you allow them in, and that's what Michael did with Killjoy. He allowed himself to be attached by this energy because he was full of hatred because of what Lorenzo and his boys did to him. And by allowing Killjoy to mount him or possess him or bind himself to him, he used black magic. Yep, he used black magic as a Oh, I didn't realize I was typing on my phone. Was damn near typing my passcode. Um, my hand was laying on my phone, and it's crazy because even though when Jada and her man and her friend thought they killed the energy of, or the, what you call that they defeated Killjoy, actually Jada ended up still being haunted because she was still traumatized by the situation, and she didn't resolve her issues internally. And I think it still haunted her because of the fact she felt responsible for this young man losing his life. And he was attached to her then boyfriend because her boyfriend at the time was responsible for his death, or him and his crew was responsible for his death, according to the movie. And there was something else I want to talk about. This clown could also represent the shadow self of Michael and how dark his mind was, the alleys of his mind was, because he was so infatuated with this young woman that he really didn't even have any limitations of how far he would go to be with her, whether it been losing a part of himself, giving something up in exchange for trying to gain her affection and love. And he just went through a lot. He ended up becoming a monster himself. And he felt humiliated because he was constantly being rejected in front of, well, by Jada, in front of her friend Monique and whoever else was around who could see that she didn't want to be bothered. When they're caught, when there's a time of extreme measures, or when there are extreme situations that take place, it often requires extreme measures to be taken in a person's eyes when they are very desperate to attain something. So, excuse me. He was not in love with Jada. He was obsessed with Jada. And there's a difference between being obsessed or in love with a person, obsessed with or in love with a person, and you have to appreciate and respect another's free will or freedom, and you can't just attach yourself to them without their consent. That's why a lot of black magic actually is like condemned to a certain extent in some like people's eyes, even if they are spiritual practitioners, and even if they like, when it comes to love spells in particular, especially specifically, they don't like to partake in that because they know the consequences. You can't mess with people's free will, and you shouldn't be doing that anyway. So it's not cool. It's nothing attractive about sticking your nose in people's business where it don't belong, and trying to throw yourself on a person who doesn't want you. It's not fair. It's just not fair. And Michael never forgave these men for what they did to him. So he really opened the door for spiritual darkness and entities and hatred and wrath and everything, spiritual warfare. And you can never rely on an evil entity to promise you justice. How you think you're gonna get justice from an evil entity taking on something or on your behalf without any consequences? I think not. And as we know, sometimes the best revenge is to not do anything at all. Just let the karmic wheel make its way around. So Actually, Michael ended up being trapped inside a Killjoy because his anger consumed him so much that he he didn't know how to separate himself from the entity, because really he started really taking on characteristics after Killjoy himself, because he was so full of, destruction and revenge and hate towards these individuals. Now I want to actually tap into the movie, what really happened, right? So I'm just gonna I'm not going to go blow by blow, but I'm going to tell you I'm going to tell you the spoilers. But I'm not trying to give like a whole, like, this is the whole movie, but it kind of is the main points of the movie. They are very important spoilers, so get ready. So we meet Michael, Jada, and Monique. This is the beginning of the movie, so we open with Michael, Jada, and Monique. And Michael again is trying to flirt with Jada. Um and she think he's cool as a friend. She liked Michael as a friend, but she's not in love with him or find him to be attractive or sexually attracted to him at all. And at the time, she was dating Lorenzo, and he was not only a violent gang member, but he was older than them. They were in high school. And from my understanding, Lorenzo was already a grown man. Like, he looked like he was in his 20s or something, like his early 20s or something like that. And he has these like Dumbo friends or whatever. They look like what you would call flunkies and whatever back in the day, or like the little, sidekicks, T-Bone and B-Boy, or Baby Boy rather, who constantly bully Michael. They don't like Michael, and especially they know that he has a thing for Jada, and they look at Michael as being like the bottom of the barrel. He's nerdy, he's quiet, he's shy, he's very like reserved. He isn't into the gang life like them. And they really know how he feels about Jada too. And that's why they're big time assholes towards him. And one day Michael just gets sick and tired of being sick and tired. He felt like he didn't have a chance in hell with Jada. So what he did is he called on this supernatural demonic clown called Killjoy. And he used the clown doll in a black magic ritual. So therefore, right after he did this ritual, Lorenzo and his friends end up abducting Michael, and they shoot him, and they left him for dead. And the ritual failed. The ritual failed, but something else in the background was brewing in a very dark and sinister way. Okay? Because initially, he used Killjoy as a way to, like, for protection, mostly like spiritual protection. But you know what? I could have sworn that he used Killjoy to, like, as like a way for him to get with Jada too. Hold on one second. Yeah. So, he mostly, yeah. So that's the thing. It was a twofold situation, right? Because he used the energy of Killjoy not only to get revenge on Lorenzo and his boys for humiliating and murdering him, but he also wanted to be with Jada, whom he genuinely loved and deeply affectionate about and cared about. And he felt like once he was resurrected through Killjoy's power, that he believed that once all the enemies were gone, him and Jada could finally be together. And then we did realize during a climatic scene in a movie that Killjoy revealed himself as Michael, and he told Jada that everything he did was for her. So yes, this is the twofold type of situation. Okay, that's what I thought. I was like, I know I'm right, but she was horrified because she was thinking, how could he think that I would appreciate why why would he think I would appreciate him doing all this, unleashing all this wrath and vengeance, and then killing my ex-boyfriend and all this stuff just to prove a point? Like, I did all this for us so that that could impress me or whatever, and we can be together. That's what she probably was thinking. Like, you crazy boy. um So Michael mistakes obsession for love, and he also thinks that by him eliminating his obstacles, really Lorenzo and his gang, that will make Jada fall in love, deeply in love with him, how he was deeply in love with her. And he never even considered that Jada has a mind of her own and she can make her own choices or decisions. And she was repulsed basically that she was repulsed because she knew that he committed these crimes as Killjoy in her name by saying, I did this for you in the name of love and for you and all this, and she's not even in love with him. But I digress. So okay, going back um So we also speed up to the fact it's a year later, and Jada was with another guy. She ended up being with a different man, actually. And what is his name? Jamal. This is her new lover, okay? And he was nice just like Michael. He had that personality, but you know what I thought, y'all? I thought that I said, is Michael inside of Jamal? Because I thought he did some type of swapping, soul swapping or something. I'm like, what the hell was this? At first, because I said, he kind of remind me of Michael Ball, like kind of, like, like the little round head and stuff, but not quite, because Jamal actually, he looked different. He looked more like a model. Michael wasn't a bad looking dude. He was just, he was, kind of weird. But Jamal was actually, he like a model. Okay, something like that. Now, it's funny that Lorenzo also was dating a new chick named Kahara, if I'm not mistaken. And she reminds him of Jada. So it's funny how that's interesting. I thought that was something interesting to put out too. To bring up too, rather. All right. Here's the thing. Um, Michael, he was actually accidentally shot and killed by Lorenzo. When they took him into the woods, they abducted him and took him to the woods and shit. While they were joking around and shit, playing around with him. And I think they were just trying to scare him at first, but then again, he ended up being, shot and, unalived. So one day, um, it's crazy because they end up seeing what's his name? With their names T Bone and Baby Boy end up seeing this damn ice cream truck, right? Um, and they didn't know that Killjoy was in the ice cream truck. And it's giving me like some weird Legion slash Pennywise type of shit. And they didn't realize they were being hunted down by Killjoy for Michael's death, to avenge Michael's death. And they both end up being lured into the, like, teleported or something. I don't know, like, I guess you would say, like, into the truck or transported to the realm of Killjoy. And that kind of remind me of some Freddy Krueger shit too, like some Nightmare on Elm Street type shit too. And that's what I was thinking too. But that ice cream truck and that the clown imagery, it was giving me a cross between not Nightmare on Elm Street, a cross of Legion and Pennywise from It, the movie It. And it also kind of looked like the clowns from Killer Clowns from Outer Space. But it's crazy because once he sucked them into this vortex and transported into his realm, he ended up, unaliving or murdering these two guys. Yeah, he fucked them up. I'm just say that. Okay? Because the funny part, their dumbasses were high as hell and they got the munchies, right? So they thinking, oh, this is just the ice cream man, bro. Let's go get some ice cream or some chips or something like that. And it's crazy because soon as they hopped in that truck, ice cream truck, they end up in this abandoned building. And that's what I mean by they got like transported to this different realm, and that's the realm where Killjoy was at. Then eventually they started going crazy. They realized, I guess they high kind of died off or whatever, kind of weaned off, because they realized, yo, where the fuck are we at? We was just at the ice cream truck. We had the munchies, and we was just trying to, you know what I'm saying, get some, curb our appetite. And they eventually had to find a way out. But they died gruesomely because it's crazy. This was kind of crazy. These kills were crazy because Baby Boy tried to find a way out the building, but they didn't know they could never escape the building, right? So before he could, run to make his way out, he got rammed into the wall by the ice cream truck. Killjoy basically offed him. And then T-Bone found some weed on the ground. He started to smoke it, and then he noticed that as he was smoking a joint or blunt or whatever, the weed started to burn him and his body vanished. Like he just evaporated in thin air and shit. Um, like he just started burning up, like from my understanding. Wow. That's crazy. So also Killjoy ended up pulling up on Lorenzo and his girl Kahara while they were having sex or something, and Lorenzo looking around, he checking his environment and stuff, like what's going on, who, like, basically who's out there. And he realized that the ice cream truck was there, and he ended up opening the door, and he realized that Killjoy pulled him in, and he confronted him and showed him, like, the so-called living corpses, because they were like zombies to me versus completely dead, of T-Bone and Baby Boy. After and then after they pretty much faded away, he shoots the ice cream, sorry, not the ice cream, well, he shot Killjoy like multiple times and shit, and then he sucked up the bullets. Killjoy sucked up the bullets. And I'm gonna tell you this: it's a like a duality thing going on with Killjoy with this ice cream man. And I talked about this before too, y'all, a while back. If you look on my channel, you will see that I talked about demonic clown imagery and that ice cream man energy, which could represent your fears and dreams, scary dreams, or trauma that you experience in your dreams, and all types of stuff. So that's where that Nightmare on Elm Street type of energy come from too. But it's crazy because, yeah, I think as I'm thinking about with what's his name, with T-Bone, I don't think he didn't evaporate when he got burned up. I mixed it up. He got evaporated after the fact. He faded away on this scene. My bad. I was jumping ahead, y'all. But I'm gonna tell you this: that sucking up the bullets imagery that Killjoy had, and and shooting the bullets out his mouth to unalive or kill Lorenzo was crazy. They actually got that from, it was inspired by the movie The Mask, starring Jim Carrey. That it was some shit like that, and it kind of reminded me of The Mask too. As I'm thinking about it, I said I'm seeing a lot of little, horror movie slash fantasy movie tropes and stuff like that. Even comedy tropes, because that was a comedy too, but it also was like a fantasy movie, The Mask. So meanwhile, Jada, Monique, and trying to think, was her boyfriend with her at Monique? I mean, Jada's boyfriend with her? No, Jada and Monique end up meeting up because Monique called Jada to tell her that she met this guy, this homeless guy, who came into her room and he needed them to come over. The homeless man was told them that Lorenzo killed Michael a year prior, and that Michael was brought to life by Killjoy. At the time, a lot of people, from what it seemed like in the movie, they kind of identified Killjoy as like this ice cream man figure. And then the crazy part is that, of course, they said Killjoy is the doll or the clown doll that Michael has. and that Killjoy also just unalived or killed Lorenzo, Baby Boy, and T-Bone, and that Killjoy slash Michael, since I told you that they're binded together now, can only be killed by Jada, because the love of Jada, who he was, she was, well, he was really in love with her. The love of Jada can destroy the evil in Michael slash Killjoy's heart. So before they left, the homeless man told them that they have to kill the Dow, uh, the spirit of the so-called, well, ice cream man came where it came from, or Killjoy's. That's where Killjoy's energy came from. So you have to kill, in order to kill the Dow, the spirit of the where Killjoy came from, and the ice cream truck that's outside. So you gotta eliminate the Dow and ice cream truck, because that's where the energy of Killjoy resides. Killjoy slash Michael resides. So initially they didn't want to believe the homeless man, and they went inside the ice cream truck to, look at things, check things out, and they come find out they end up being transported to that abandoned building, and they end up realizing that they were confronted by T-Bone, Baby Boy, and Lorenzo, because their souls are under Killjoy's control now, like they're zombies or something, or they're enslaved to Killjoy, and they're now his accomplices slash sidekicks. So their souls are binded to Killjoy slash Michael. And at this point, the homeless man, Jada, and Monique started fighting all three of the guys, Lorenzo, T-Bone, and Baby Boy, until all three are killed. Now it's funny that I'm saying that they were killed. They were already dead. How you gonna kill something that's already dead? But they weren't dead until, because see, their souls were binded and they were on the other side. They were like the living dead. So because the energy of Jada was around and she killed them, I guess that eliminated everything. And then actually Jamal was there too, y'all. So the trio, my bad, was actually that was kicking T-Bone, Lorenzo, and Baby Boy's ass was really Jamal, Monique, and Jada. My bad. So Killjoy, he ended up coming out and he knocked out Jamal and Monique, and then had the nerve to ask Jada for a kiss. And Jada, of course, agreed to do so, just to, basically try to keep things, I guess, focused on her goal, which was to kill him. And she said she would kiss him under one condition: that he would leave her world and never come back. So she tried to keep things, calm and collected. But instead of disappearing, Killjoy ended up transforming into Michael. And we realize that it's true that Michael and Killjoy are one and the same, okay? They're the same person. And he promised that, well, he told her that he did everything for her. Now I'm going back to that part. He said he did everything for her, and that he did that basically out of his love for her, and he wanted them to be together. He figured after he eliminated Lorenzo, T-Bone, and Baby Boy, that everything would be back the way it's supposed to be. Like, he was supposed to come back and resurrect as himself after they were dead. And that's why he ended up turning into Michael, because Now officially, T-Bone, Baby Boy, and Lorenzo were dead, and he felt like, oh, it's my time. We can be together forever, or be together, just be together, right? But Jada wasn't feeling this. She wanted Michael slash Killjoy to stop the killing, and she ended up stabbing Michael, unaliving him, and then Michael ended up fading away. But as soon as Jada, Jamal, and Monique are about to leave, when they are about to leave, they end up bumping into Killjoy, Lorenzo, T-Bone, and Baby Boy. They end up running into them. They were behind them. So basically, Jada remembered what the homeless man said, and she forgot, you have to kill the doll in order to kill the spirit of the ice cream man slash Killjoy slash Michael. Okay, so all three of them frantically went back to the ice cream truck, and they end up being at Michael's house, and that's when they found the doll on the floor, and the doll end up once again transforming into Michael. He kept begging for Jada's forgiveness, but she had to keep stabbing it to, it was going pretty much. So basically, the ground ended up shaking, and while Jada, Jamal, Monique were trying to stay within the circle of candles so that they can not break the circle, because they wanted the ritual to work to try to reverse things. Okay, Baby Boy, T-Bone, and Lorenzo's souls got sucked into a portal, and all three, Jada, Michael, and Monique, end up watching as Killjoy finished off Michael through the like vaporization process or whatever, and then all three of them are sent back to Jada's room. It's a lot of like teleport, not teleport, why I keep saying that, transporting, like from one room to the next, one building to the next, without really having to travel. You're just getting transported, or I guess you would say teleported. Yeah. So yeah, of course Killjoy is going to take Michael's soul too, because they were binded, and they, end up being one and the same. So Jamal, Monique, and Jada all end up going back to Jada's room. They end up getting sent back once the ritual was over, and the homeless man thanked them, and he vanished too. And come to find out, he was an angel from heaven saving them. This was deep. I ain't gonna lie, for it to be a low budget film, this was pretty good. And besides looking at, some of the stuff that may be in a movie that comes off as being low budget, overall it was pretty good. It was a vibe to me. So we go to the scene, and this is like towards the end of the movie. At the end of the movie, all three of them end up going out to eat. Jada, Jamal, and Monique. And they end up getting confronted by Ray and Tamara, who are both in Jada's English class. And Ray end up saying that he gained access into the club for free because his brother owns the place, and his name is Killjoy. And they like, what the fuck? And all three of them just pause. Then they see that Ray end up turning into Killjoy, and Tamara turns into Lorenzo. And then Killjoy end up laughing like a complete psychopath at all three of them. And Jada was screaming no. And then she woke up in bed and we realized that she was dreaming. This wasn't for real. She was dreaming. She was in the bed with Jamal, her boyfriend, and he ended up telling her that everything that she just experienced was just a dream. It was just a bad dream. And it's crazy because, and I mentioned this earlier, that during this oral sex scene, dude, Jamal was, he was eating that box, and next thing you know, when the covers got pulled back, Killjoy came from under the covers, and then he was like, that was some good pussy. Like, that shit was funny as hell, followed by this evil laugh, like, like, that shit was crazy. That shit was funny as hell. Oh my God, y'all. This was, it didn't seem like it was a lot, but it was a lot. And there was one scene that was funny as hell when Killjoy was like pop locking and shit. This shit was funny. It's funny, y'all. Y'all, I can't. It was pretty good though. If I was going to give it a rating out of 10 for a low budget film, I think I would give it, I don't know. Like, I would give it, I ain't gonna lie, like, because with the low budget and the execution of how they did this, with that type of budget, I would say that I would give it at least like 5.5 stars. It wasn't bad though. Like, it was a short film. I think only like an hour and 12 minutes, but I mean, it wasn't bad though. You know what I mean? Like, I ain't gonna like shit on it and nothing like that. But I think overall it wasn't bad. If I was to give a real honest review, like 5.5 out of 10 stars. If I was to, 5.5 out of 10. Yeah, out of 10 stars. Y'all on some IMDb type of shit. Okay, so it was a good watch. It was a good watch. Those teeth were crazy. They definitely was giving me it. Let's see. I want to talk briefly about this ice cream man imagery. And then also about the clown imagery. So, hold up. It usually, they say that it talks about a contrast between innocence and menace. So they said that ice cream man imagery could serve as a stranger danger archetype, which involves luring children with sweet treats, warping a familiar suburban haven into a place of dread. But in this case, in Killjoy, this was an adult luring adults with sweet treats and snacks and stuff, because they knew like these fools got the munchies. They ain't over some weed heads, whatever, whatever. And I also noticed that other notable movies that has this trope is Ice Cream Man, 1995. It's a cult classic. And it's about a mentally unstable ice cream man who blends human remains into his frozen desserts. And it stars Clint Howard as Gregory Tudor, who was supposed to be a slasher in the film. Also, Legion 2010, okay, features an iconic, horrifying twist where a kindly, grandmotherly ice cream vendor transforms into a sharp-toothed monster. That's what they saying. But what I remember, it was an ice cream man figure that came out of the truck. It looked like a good humor man, and he started. His body became elongated, like he was on stilts, like his body was made of stilts, and he started all this crawling and shit like a spider or something or crab. That shit was spooky. Okay, and we also have in this episode of this show called Masters of Horror, an undead, vengeful ice cream man returns from the grave to exact terror on the adults who accidentally killed him as a child. And the name of that episode is We All Scream for Ice Cream 2007. Wow. They also said that it's a movie called Ice Cream Man that came out this year, 2026, or is coming out this year. I don't know. I gotta see if it's out already or okay. So it's not out yet. It doesn't come out until August 7th. That's next month. So, ooh shit. Girl. Um let's see. So, and with that demonic clown shit that we already know pretty much about that, I ain't gonna keep holding y'all up with that. But also, in this case specifically, with Killjoy representing the demonic clown driving an ice cream truck, this also deals with corrupted innocence, meaning that the ice cream truck represents childhood fun and safety. Turning the driver into a monster creates a disturbing contrast, allure, or temptation. Okay, the music and treats attract people, especially children, but in horror, this becomes a symbol of being tempted into danger or evil. Okay, a wolf in sheep's clothing. The truck appears harmless, making it easier for the killer or supernatural being to approach victims without raising suspicion. And we also have crossing into another world. In Killjoy, the ice cream truck is more than a vehicle, it becomes a gateway. That's what I was trying to think of. It's a gateway to the demon supernatural realm, because Killjoy was a demon and a clown. That's why he was called, hence a demonic clown. Okay, almost like a modern version of a haunted carriage or ferry carrying souls to death. False promises. Ice cream offers temporary pleasure. Spiritually or symbolically, the truck can represent the temptation of something that seems sweet but hides destruction underneath. Wow. So the imagery that appears in this film, uh, it uses the demonic clown. Well, the demonic clown uses an ice cream truck to lure victims into this realm. Also, like I just mentioned about the ice cream man, a murderous ice cream vendor terrorizes a neighborhood. In Legion, an unsettling ice cream truck scene contributes to the film's apocalyptic horror. And in Twisted Metal, which I didn't touch base on that prior, although it's not a film, the character Sweet Tooth combines the clown imagery. Yes, that's what this remind me of too. Sweet Tooth with an ice cream truck in a post-apocalyptic setting. Yeah. 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 So overall, in this movie, Michael's desire for revenge also begins with something that, of course, anybody will want. You want justice, but it also had drawn him into or drew him into a destructive supernatural bargain with Killjoy. And just because, like I said, something seems inviting or like it's promising, on the outside, doesn't mean that it's going to lead to a place of peace. It can lead you into a place of horror. Okay. So anyway, that's it for me. Talk about the film Killjoy. This was crazy. This was a lot to take in, but I hope y'all enjoyed it. And I also just wanted to talk about, how black magic can affect people's lives. And in this case, this was a doozy, y'all. All right, peace. Y'all have beautiful rest of y'all week. If I don't see y'all or talk to y'all again by the end of this week, like Saturday or Sunday or something, something like that, before the weekend is out. All right, love y'all. Stay safe, stay blessed. Leave some comments, like, share, and subscribe. Peace.